Right, hello everyone. Thank you for actually joining us for this webinar on Advantage, our solution for ACOs, integrated healthcare delivery systems, and PHOs. Typically, a lot of provider systems have EMRs and struggle with how they integrate their clinical data with claims data or HIE data. Our solution has been able to do that. And as a matter of fact, we combined claims and clinical data more than a year ago with one of our pioneer ACOs. So currently we have a couple of ACOs, MSSP, and one pioneer ACO currently using the system. This is how the data flows in our platform. So what you would see is most health plans use mainly claims data to run analytics and care management. So what we've done this last year was actually combine clinical data. So clinical data coming from HIEs, EMRs, public EMR agnostic. It doesn't matter what EMR. Even telehealth. We've been able to integrate that in our platform. The latest thing that we've done is actually adding pre-adjudicated claims from practice management systems. So what we do is, if you don't have the clinical data, if you're only using claims data, there's usually like a 3-month claim flag. But we have been able to close that gap by collecting that claims information before it's adjudicated by client houses or health plans, and we get that at point of care. So if you submit a claim, say for an office visit for a diabetic, we would know that the provider you saw a patient today who has diabetes, and that the system we can actually start the care management process, because all you really need for population management is the diagnosis. You don't necessarily need the cost initially. So we combine the clinical information and with claims information, and our strategic partner IGI actually does all the HIE and clearinghouse for us, and the data warehouse aggregates the data, and then we run the analytics. So these are all the reports that end users can then see. So you have members who see, or patients will see the dashboard with gaps in care. The care managers actually can do population management. The physicians will see their profile and how well they're doing, and then the organization can actually see the same report rolled up to the organizational level. This is a suite of products that Advantage has. The fiber analytics, the Care Advantage is the population management platform, patient portal, provider portal, mobile apps, the consent tracker, and the quality tool registry is mainly for the Medicaid ACOs, MSSP, and Pioneer. So this is how we integrated this for one of our clients that uses Epic. So what we've done is we've run all the analytics. All they wanted to see was the patient level report, but they did not want to log into the provider portal. So what we did was build a single sign-on. They called it an ACO link. So if I'm seeing this, if I'm a provider for this ACO and I'm seeing a patient in my office, all I need to do is go and look at that report, which has all the clinical information that I have in Epic, and also claims information that I do not have because it's being paid by either another payer like a health plan or CMS. In this case, it's CMS. That report is on this link. By clicking on this link here, this is what the provider will then see. Now, what we've done is IGI has actually built an interface with the provider, so they're getting the clinical information daily from that provider. We are then combining that clinical information with claims data and then displaying it back to average cost for their population. If the average cost, for example, is $10,000 a year, well, what we're projecting is this particular patient is going to cost you 2.7 times more than your average cost. So the expected cost for next year, that's prospective, next 12 months, for this patient is going to be $27,000, for example. So that's what this number does. Then we also pull the particular patient into the disease states that we have disease management programs for. This is the top failure, COPD, heart disease. CCM is a complex case management. That's the sickest of the sick. Then the care management knows how to switch to the provider, so she can actually view the notes by care manager. And this is where we display the clinical information from your EMR, your HIE, or lab feed. So looking at this particular example, the LDL cholesterol was performed on this date. The result was 102. And we're using this result to close gaps. Cholesterol management is a measure that you have two components. One is screening. Yes, there was screening. However, the goal is it needs to be less than 100. In this case, it was not. So that's why you're seeing an X right here saying, hey, there's a gap. So a provider can then, maybe this provider put this patient on cholesterol medication 3 months ago. If they check the cholesterol today, and if it's 70, for example, they can go in and input that data, and this gap will be closed immediately. And I'll show you in a minute how the gap can be closed. And this is how we also combine the claims. In this instance, this was an eye exam performed for a diabetic by an ophthalmologist. We're using just claims information to close that gap. So this is actually telling me that this provider on this day did an eye exam on the patient, and as you can see here, that's how that eye exam claim closed the gap. We don't know exactly what the result of the eye exam was, and this is a struggle that most providers have. They refer patients to eye doctors, and they never get a response back. But at least those eye doctors want to be paid, so they send a claim to the payer, in this case CMS. So that way, at least they know the patient actually had the eye exam done. So what I would do now is actually take you to the platform. So it's web-based, and the providers can actually log in this way. That's one way of actually logging in, or they can just see the member, the patient level report, like the previous example I showed you. This is we're calling it a provider portal, but it looks more like an EMR. So what we've done is we also use this for providers that do not have an EMR. We're calling it an EMR Lite. It has multiple tabs. It even has the e-prescribing. You can do the authorizations using the Milliman guidelines. This is usually for commercial line of business Medicaid. Usually doesn't require it all. And you can actually see the claim for the particular patients. And but for the purpose of it, I just want to show you, some of the reports here. One of the things that I definitely want to mention here is we have a Medline tool built into the system. It's also built into well, if I'm a provider and I want to send some information on diabetes to this patient, all I need to do is just click on this, and we'll pull up a lot of information on diabetes. I'll show you how you can just securely email that to a patient, or you can print it up. So this one, for example, is diabetes in the Hispanics, Latina. So I want to display that. I can see the information right here. Now, I can securely email this. And just go back here and choose a patient to send it to. So I'll choose this particular patient. I can securely email this patient. So this is still the provider portal. If I want to look at, if this patient was the one that showed up in my office, I can actually see all the data coming in from this patient. If I ask, this is a diabetic. If I ask this diabetic to send me her blood sugar readings, instead of her faxing it to me and being lost, I have an EMR, I don't know where to store it. If the patient shows up 6 months later, I'm going to be able to find it. I can tell the patient just submit it through the portal. As you can see, I can actually see all the readings for the patient. We've also integrated, the reason we have a pulse ox is we also have integrated telehealth into this. So that way we can actually view information submitted. If the source is critical, so that way we know what's submitted by the patient, if it's submitted by the patient, or what was submitted by a provider or from a lab, or doesn't matter what source. So this is an overview of the provider portal. Now the providers will have access to the dashboard. This is where the provider can view their dashboard, and I'll show you this in a minute. But one thing I wanted to actually take you to the patient portal. You can actually see what I just sent to that patient a few minutes ago. So this is what the patient, this will actually alert the patient that she has the message. And this is what I just sent a few minutes ago. And there's that link to diabetes. Okay, so the patient can view it. Go back here. Show you another feature of the portal. So it looks similar to the provider portal, but there are more tabs. So this is a calendar where the patient can actually set up their own reminders. And the data exchange is where the patient can actually get CCD documents from other, most patients see multiple providers. And the EMRs don't usually talk to each other. They can get a CCD document from another provider, and they can view it in a portal. They can look at their claims, find the doctor, they can look at the eligibility, and their dashboard. So some of the features that you see here, the patient can search the Medline content, Medline Plus content. And the patient can communicate with a health plan. In this case, this is the health plan. Or they can communicate with their provider. They can communicate with a health plan. They can say, hey, I just want to talk to the CEO, and send a message directly to the CEO of the health plan. So let me close this out and take you to the analytics. So on the analytics, the first thing I want to actually show you is a provider dashboard. Start with a PCP. So again, there's a tab. Each individual provider will be able to log in and just see his or her dashboard. But this is the organizational level. So a medical director of an ACO, for example, might want to see how each individual provider is doing. And this is one view of, the panel type of each provider, the per member per month cost by radiology lab, days per thousand, inpatient days per thousand ER, and the cost indices. So we'll just choose this provider here. When you see, the first thing you see on this dashboard is efficiency percentile, and this can be customized by provider. So the provider can come in here and change the parameters. Maybe you want to just look at Medicaid or whatever, or remove some of this field that may not be applicable. But the first thing you look at is the efficiency. What this means is we know the average cost for each particular patient, and the average cost of the primary condition being the condition with the highest cost. So if it's someone on dialysis, that's probably end-stage renal disease. It's probably going to be the primary diagnosis. So we know the primary cost for each diagnosis, and we know the panel size. So then we come up with an expected cost for that panel of patients for this provider. If the actual cost in 12 months is lower than the expected cost, then the provider is more efficient. So again, if the actual cost is lower than the expected cost, then the provider is more efficient. We rank the provider by specialty. So this happens to be a primary physician. And this person is ranked at the 70th percentile. Anything over 50th percentile is more efficient. So there's going to be someone here at the first percentile and someone at the 99th percentile. So this is way inverse. The lower your score, the better you are. And they can actually view the explanation here. And the other piece here is you always have a comparison to the benchmark, which is typically the specialty. So looking at this provider has 324 patients assigned to her. Her adjusted cost, adjusted cost is 0.99, similar to the specialty. The severity index is how sick the panel of 324 patients are, slightly sicker than average. And she's more efficient. Most providers will tell you, well, that patient is sicker, and this actually would be an objective way of actually measuring that. We also have the E&M coding, so the provider can see how she stacks up versus either the specialty or national. This is the national average, all the sub-million lives in the tool. So right here, providers putting a little bit more level 3s and less level 4s, even though our patients are sicker. And that's leaving some money on the table. We have the patient ER utilization, so this are the frequent ER utilizers. I'll just show you this example here. So this is in descending order, the most patient with the most ER visit. This is usually 12 rolling months. So you can click on this and actually see who the patient is, why they went to the emergency room, what day of the week, and the diagnosis. This information that most providers do not know. They know that some of their patients go to the ER, but they don't know how many times they've been in the ER in the past 12 months, or what they went to the ER for. And we also have a list of non-emergent ER visits based on claims. This is using the New York University classification. And we can actually give you a report of who is going to the ER, whether the ER visit is non-emergent or not, and then compare it to your specialty. So this physician happens to have a little bit more. But then it's per thousand, so your patients who are admitted, the rate versus your peers. Admit per thousand, again, this is the ER utilization, this provider, and the benchmark. It also explains the provider out-of-network activity. So for that 300 plus patients, what percentage of those patients are going out of network? We define out, so that the organization will tell us what physicians, facilities are in network, and everything else is considered out of network. We can actually track costs and then compare it to registry. The other one is all the disease registries. I'm sorry, the combination of the disease registries and preventive care registries. So looking at this here, you can actually tell that this provider has 43 patients identifying case who really need case management. Only one is participating. Anything that's online, you can do a drawdown. And this report is the advanced imaging, CT scan, MRI. So looking at this MRI report, this provider utilization, MRI utilization is higher than the average. There's direct and indirect. So direct are the MRIs that the provider ordered. Indirect are the ones that were ordered by other providers but assigned to this particular PCP because those patients were assigned to this PCP. So in essence, we can click on this and have a list of all the patients who had MRI, who ordered the MRI, and you can actually see what for. So this is a pretty powerful report. The same thing for CT. Outlier reports are high cost patients for that panel. So looking at this, number one is chemotherapy. This is someone who obviously has cancer. So this provider can click on this and actually see a report of this is the patient's diagnosis, breast cancer, and the ER visits. Has been any patient visits? None. Look at the cost by category. So professional cost, RX, in facility, most of the cost is professional, and also the medication that the patient is on. Go back to the report and finish up here. And the referrals, and this is the combination of this is the main registry that providers look at. So you have preventive services and chronic disease registries. So in this case, and it's based on specialty. So that's why you actually see immunization, because this is a family physician. If this was an internal medicine registry, you will not see the childhood immunization. Again, you can look at the provider can look at the detail of the patients who have not had breast cancer screening, so mammograms. So they can look at a whole list here. Open up in a minute. The ones that haven't had breast cancer screening, and this report can be exported. By anyone else, you can actually export it and sort it in Excel. So that's the PCP report. Let me briefly show you specialist reports, because we also have specialist reports here. Let's choose cardiology. Let's choose this provider. It's displayed a little bit differently. So looking at the specialist, 756 referrals with central cardiologists. This provider actually saw 51 of those referrals. This is the cost by ENS, evaluation and management code, procedure, and other could be drugs or other things. So this provider spends an average of $818 per referral. The specialty average is $590. This provider is probably going to say, well, that patient's a sicker. It goes to the specialty index. Yes, they are sicker. So we account for the illness burden by just dividing this score by 1.05, and then you normalize it. Still, the patient's a sicker. So why is that? Once you start looking at the referral rate, it'll give you an idea of why this patient's cost is higher. So the first thing you see here is, this is a ranking for the specialty. So basically what it says is, well, cardiologist, this is Doppler is number one on the rates, and number 4 is heart imaging. Look, going down here, this is cardiac cath. It's number 52 for all cardiologists. So guess what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's number 6 for this provider. So what that tells you, this provider is doing a lot of cath. Why provider, and this is a specialty. So this provider is doing a lot of camp, but it's also very efficient. This is 10, rather the camp is 3. The average for the specialty is a little bit higher. It's a correction there. All right, so this is the specialty reports. Now, briefly, I will show you the high-cost members, high-cost patients, so you can actually see your highest-cost patients. I showed you a report like this, the provider level. This is the organizational level. You can see your highest-cost member. And you can also do the same thing for ER visits to see your highest ER utilizer. On this report, you can the highest cost into the ER for 10 ER visits in 12 months, and it was admitted once. And then this is the quality report similar to what I showed you, for a provider. You can actually see the same report of the organization. Now we have 2 sets of reports. We have mainly HEDIS-based reports, which is this one. You can see it's similar to our report that I showed you earlier. And you can actually do drill down on this report. So, for example, we're looking at eye exam. You can look at each provider's rate for this measure. You can look at all the non-compliant patients for every patient. So you can do a drill down on this. This is all the HEDIS. We also have the ACO summer reports using the 22 ACO measures. This mainly is for the Medicare shared savings for Pioneer and MSSP. So we'll have both of those reports in the tool. Give us just a few seconds here to display. So these are all the ACO reports. And on this, you can also do drill downs. So, for example, by hitting on this, it will then display the influenza rate by provider. So this again is that provider that I showed you earlier. And if you click on it, it will display all the patients. And this is the rate for that provider. And the other thing that I want to share is our care management platform. It's all integrated in the tool. So looking at the care management platform, there's all the programs and the disease states, and we actually document how patients fall into each disease state. So, for example, complex case management, more than 2 inpatient stays a year, 3-ER visits. In this case, 10 hospital visits in the past year. So each organization can set their criteria, and the system can actually automatically pull patients into each category. Let's just choose the patient here. So a care manager might say, I want to see who am I supposed to call today? They can choose somebody, and then they will have a list at the bottom of the patients. This is more like their daily intervention. This is things that they're supposed to be doing today. And they can pull the patient and actually start doing care management on each patient. The other thing is they can actually run reports, ad hoc reports from the tool. So you can filter, I want to see just my asthmatics, and I want to see those who are actively participating in the program, and it will display a report for those patients. As the interest of time, see how long this list is. So if I choose this will be all my asthmatics. And this will be a dashboard for this particular patient. visits, you can actually see who they saw and for what. If they were in the hospital, that will be displayed here. If they've had labs, you'll see the labs here. They on medications, that will be here. So this is a great tool. Providers can actually click on this through the EMR and see a lot more information that they're able to see in the EMR. Now, the other piece that I forgot to mention was how you can close a gap. So if let's go back here and choose the gap on something. So this is where you can actually close the gap. The patient, for example, the one I showed you earlier, LDL was 1 or 2. The medical assistant in the office or nurse can actually put in the point of care testing that they did say with a cholesterol of LDL of 70, and that will close that gap. And then you also have another screen where they can put in, the colorectal cancer screening, the mammograms, and point of care can close that gap. Most providers don't have time to do this, so that's how we can close this gap by actually pulling discrete fields from your EMR and through our custom specs can close that gap for them and it's updated the next day. And then lastly, there are employer reports, there are hospital reports where the organization can actually look at how well they're doing with utilization. There are financial reports. This is one of those reports that the CFOs will want to look at. Well, what is my per member per month cost? What was it last year? And, break it down by hospital, professional, and pharmacy. And you can do drill downs. You want to look at all the consults there it is. You want to look at major procedures you have at your fingertips. You can also do a benchmark, comparison benchmark for that. So we have the national average and the regional average. And the other thing is there is an organizational dashboard where the organization might just want to look at how well are we doing as an organization. So again, it displays the highest, the sickest patients. You can see your monthly trend, the top 10 provider visits, ER visits for that organization, prior year and current year. So all the same report that I've shown you earlier can be displayed to the organization. And I think I will end here. This is a brief overview of our Advantage tool and multiple components. If you are interested in learning more about Advantage, you can then contact us and we can do a deep